YouTube, Electric Adventures here with the 40th anniversary of the ColecoVision, or better way to celebrate the 40th anniversary of one console that I have loved since it first came out, all the way back in 1982, although it was 1983 here in Australia, but 1982 was when it was released in the US. July 28th apparently. Doesn't matter if I got the date wrong, it's good to celebrate it anyway. I thought, what better way to celebrate a console that I love, to do some top lists. So my first list I want to do is the top 10 shoot-em-ups. Now, there are actually, and these are the top 10 shoot-em-ups from the classic games. So we're not including any homebrew titles. So these all had to be released back when the console was released. And there are quite more than you think. There's probably about 20 of them if you classify, depends on what you classify as a shoot 'em up. I've kept it reasonably, the definition reasonably loose, and so there's about 20 games. I've chopped that down to my top 10, very hard. I have some shall we say, some honourable mentions to go to start with. First is Super Cobra by Parker Brothers. Very good game, excellent game, plays really well, but didn't quite make my list. Another one that didn't quite make my list is Centipede by Atari Soft. Atari Soft did a very good job of their ports to the ColecoVision and other consoles as well, and Centipede plays very well and is a very good shooter. A good fun shooter. And just missing out on the list is Defender. The version of Defender on the Coleco is quite solid and plays quite well, but I just couldn't quite put it on the list because there are other games that I wanted to get on there, and you'll notice some games, some absolute classic games missing here, but that's what a top 10 is. You've got to chop it down to 10. So as I put each one of these up, I've done a little bit of gameplay, so I'll show snippets from them. So, number 10. Right, we have none other than Star Wars, the arcade game. The ColecoVision was very lucky to receive a port of this game. It was brought out for quite a few systems. The Coleco version is not too bad once you get used to the inverted controls. And plays quite well, and it looks quite good, quite good as well. And I've always enjoyed it. I haven't. I probably only played it a little bit back in the day. I haven't had an actual physical copy of it, probably only for the last 2 to 3 years. But it's definitely worth getting if you can find a copy for your ColecoVision. So, number 10. Number 9. Now, this game is one of the games that I absolutely loved the look of in the advertisements for the ColecoVision, and I couldn't believe this game was coming out. I'm a fan of the arcade game Scramble. I've worked on my own version of Scramble for the ColecoVision, and so none other than Cosmic Avenger. The Cosmic Avenger, like Scramble, is a side-scrolling shoot 'em up where you bomb things on the ground and shoot forwards. Now, it's a very early release ColecoVision game. It looks really good. It is a little buggy though, which is the annoying thing if you want to play it lots. The collision detection is a little bit loose, and some funny things happened occasionally, but it's really good. It's got 3 sort of different stages and it loops around, but it's actually quite a good fun game, and I can play that for quite some period of time and have some fun. So, highly recommended, Cosmic Avenger. So, number 8. Now, this is the only one I'm cheating a little bit. I don't actually have an original Atari Soft copy of this. I have the re-release by ColecoVision, and it's none other than Galaxian. Now, the version of Galaxian by Atari Soft for the ColecoVision is absolutely fantastic. It's one of the games that's very close to being arcade perfect. The only differences you're really going to see are when the enemies dive down. When they're in formation, there's a lot of colour and animation there. It plays really well, and Galaxian is one of my favourite arcade games from back in the day. I'm even lucky enough to have a Sega Galaxian cocktail cabinet, which I'm doing up. and I've always enjoyed it. Just like original Space Invaders, Galaxian adds that little bit more to it. Obviously doesn't have the full formations like Galaga does, but it's still a very exciting and great game, and it was, you know, very good version on the ColecoVision back in the day. So next, another original release game for the system, and this one bringing a bit of 3D perspective in, none other than Zaxxon. Another arcade game that I used to play back in the day. We were lucky enough to have a Zaxxon cabinet in one of the arcades near where I lived, and I used to play it. Always used to die lots, but it always used to put some coins into Zaxxon, and I couldn't believe how good the version of Zaxxon was on the Coleco. Early release game again, so once again they did shortcut a little bits of the game. There is another version that was released for the Adam that has a little bit more of the gameplay in it, but it plays quite well, and it's good fun, and I can play this game for quite some time as well, and play it on a reasonably regular basis and have fun. So that's why it's on my list. Now the next game is one of the games that I owned back in the day for my ColecoVision that I had, although clarify here, my ColecoVision was the ColecoVision adapter for my Spectravideo computer. That's the system I had at home, and I had a number of cartridges, and this was one of them. I have played this game lots and lots and lots and gotten big scores on it. It is a very good version of the arcade game. So it's no other than Tutankhamen, which is a maze shooter. It has all 4 levels from the arcade game. Is really good good fun. It's very hard. You have to shoot to the left and right. If you press left and right at the same time, that does one of your flash bombs. It is a little easier than the arcade, but it does get quite frenzied and fast. But obviously I've got a physical version of the arcade behind me here. The monitor's a little dark at the moment, but it is working. And it is one of my favourite arcade games, and a very good solid port to the ColecoVision. Highly recommended. And next, so this is our top 5 now, so number 5, and it's probably not a big surprise that this is on my list, because I've been working on a port of Berserk from the arcade for the ColecoVisions for some time, so of course I would have to include Frenzy. Now Frenzy is the sequel to Berserk. They did a magnificent job of porting this back in the day. It wasn't a game that came out straight away when the ColecoVision released, so a little bit more time, a little bit more effort was put into it. It actually has a lot of the arcade gameplay in it. No speech or anything like that. It's very difficult to do speech on an original Coleco because of the sound chip. But it's got a lot of quite reasonable gameplay and enemy variety. It does start out reasonably easy, which is good because the arcade game's a lot harder, and it's a game that you can play for some time, and it has the mechanisms in the middle of the room which you can shoot. Will do various things like, you know, freeze the whole screen and things like that, and so it's got a lot more to explore and understand about it, and it's a good fun game. Not as good at this as I am Berserk, but it's actually a good fun game to play. Alright, now I've only included one Activision title in this list. Two Activision titles, so obviously there's going to be one missing. But I couldn't overstack. I love Activision games. Activision games have been ported very well across the systems, and this one is none other than River Raid. An absolutely fantastic game. What's not to love? Smooth vertical scrolling, lots of different enemy types, and over and above the Atari 2600 version you have more enemy types. You have the shooting tanks, you have the shooting helicopters, and as I said, it looks nicer, plays well, sounds reasonably well for a ColecoVision game, and just is really, really good fun to play. I can get a reasonably high score on this version, but I'll probably need a bit more, get back into a bit more practice. It does get very hard. By the time you get all of the different enemy types on screen, you really start to struggle to get through this one. So River Raid. Very highly recommended. Should be in everybody's collector. Now, next one is another one by Parker Brothers. Boy, Parker Brothers really looked after ColecoVision owners with their conversions. So, another great game related to Galaxian Glaga is none other than Gyruss. Now, I've only got this one that came with a black and white cover, which I've replaced with a printed. So it was a Telegames version. Pardon me, I've had this for quite some time. This game plays really, really well, very close to the arcade game. All of the enemy patterns are there, the full rotation movement, and just the game and the action is really, really close to the arcade. Skimped out on the fonts and things like that, but other than that, it's just such a good job done at converting this across to the ColecoVision, and it's such a good fun game to play. Did not have this back in the day. I would have loved this back in the day, but it was one of the first games I did buy when I started collecting again, when I found this copy. So haven't found a proper cardboard Parker Brothers box copy of it yet, but I probably will upgrade it to that at some stage. But highly, highly recommended. One of my favourite games across lots of different systems. And yes, I have an arcade board of that one as well. Now, it wouldn't surprise a lot of people, because I talk about this game all the time, but my number 2 game is Time Pilot. Now, it does only have 4 of the stages. It's missing the UFO stage, which the MSX version does have, but it actually plays better than the MSX version. The MSX version looks a little nicer, but it just lacks that playability, whereas the ColecoVision version, this is a great version of the game, especially at the time when I got it. I play it now and it does wane a little bit, but I'm putting it this high on the list because it's one of the classic games that I used to play all the time for the ColecoVision. And as I said, it's got 4 of the stages. It definitely gets harder as you go through, so there's a bit of a challenge there, and it's a really good, didn't quite come when the console came out, but it wasn't far behind some of the launch games. So it just, screams ColecoVision to me, this game, and plays really, really well. So, what is my number 1 shoot-'em-up game for the ColecoVision? Also follows the channels, may not be totally surprised about this one. I'm also particularly reasonably good at this one, and it's none other than Beam Rider. Now, Beam Rider would have to be one of the most evenly ported games across systems. Pretty much any system you get it for, you're going to get a decent version of Beam Rider. The very first game system I played Beam Rider on was the Intellivision, and that version is fantastic, especially the sound. It's a little slower. The ColecoVision version runs really fast, really smooth, colourful. I get up to stage 17. I haven't actually got any further than that, and got about 50,000. What I'll do after this, I'll probably cut to the rest of the gameplay that you're seeing here. It's great. It's got every stage, you keep on getting new enemies and mixing up with the previous enemies you've seen. It's not about rapid shooting, it's about timing and lining up, and it's always a good challenge, always good fun, and I can play it again and again and again, and it just plays so well and really shows what you could do on the ColecoVision. So, of course, there are going to be games that are fantastic games that I haven't put here. You've got Venture, you've got things like Carnival, even that's a shooter if you think about it. You've got Amiga Race and Space Fury. I had to leave lots of games off here. ColecoVision was blessed with lots of shoot-'em-up games, and this is just the classic library. There's also all of the lovely homebrew titles that have been released since. So, what is some of your favourite shoot-'em-up games for the ColecoVision? I'll be very interested to know. Do a video response or post a list down below. But it's just wanted to do this video to celebrate the 40th anniversary of a console that I absolutely loved and have loved since it very first came back out in the day. So, happy 40th anniversary ColecoVision. I'm Electric Adventures, thanks to all my subscribers, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.